Hey folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 22nd of May 2019. First of all, I have some tremendous news. The news being that I have internet at home, so this is really, really nice. The neighbors in the area have been speaking with the local internet providers over the past 4 years, and finally we've had internet delivered to our street. I suppose you can call the street. It's kind of like a dirt road in the middle of the jungle, so there's not a lot here, but finally they managed to get internet installed. So I have a 20 megabit connection. I'm surrounded by green trees and coconuts and stuff, so it's really cool. So I'm super excited. So I can do symposiums from home, and I don't have to go to my children's school to work anymore. So that's really, really cool. Okay, so today I just want to go over a couple of trades and maybe show you guys or give an update maybe about the robot, how that's going, and perhaps kind of leave it for that for the time being. And if you have any questions about what's going on, please let me know, and then I can get to it as soon as possible. The robot just has this trade open here, so I'm just watching it just to make sure everything is good. I'll go on to the 1 minute chart so I can watch that. It's always quite fun, actually. 5 minutes. So that looks pretty cool. So just a quick update. The robot is cruising on slowly. Some of you may have noticed that the robot is not available on the website anymore, and that's because I found that it was being used a little bit recklessly. So I removed it from the site, and now just a handful of people are using it. But if you're interested in using it, let me know, and then we can have a chat, and I can kind of hear what your intentions are with it and your expectations, and then we can perhaps move on from that. I think that would be the best way forward. I was experiencing some people putting on really small time frames and switching it on to trade everything, and yeah, things went pear-shaped in a hurry. Some were lucky and others were less lucky. So I want to make sure that this isn't going to happen, and the people that are using it now are doing so well, and they're doing it carefully, and so everything is looking pretty good. But I use it on a few live accounts. Usually a small live account I have that it's running on. Currently have this position on. It doesn't trade that often, but I set it not to trade, not a lot. It's just like small positions. But it's doing pretty well. It's just crawling along. So that's pretty cool. This is a pilot project for a fund in Dubai who are seriously interested in the robot, and so we're just kind of testing on this account here, and kind of seeing how things go. But I'm not using on the 1 minute or the 5 minute. I'm using on the 4 hour and up. I have the configuration set such that the stops are really big. Despite that fact, when they hit the stops, we're still only risking a fraction of a percent for that trade. Okay, and so just because the stop is huge, it doesn't mean that I'm going to have huge losses. My losses are tiny, my targets are tiny, and small and gradual growth, which is what I like to see. I don't like to see 20% returns a day, even though it sounds really, really lovely. It's not sustainable. And so, me trying to get this hedge fund to use my software, me pulling home 20% a day, while that may put a smile on their faces initially, they know that in the long term that is not sustainable and will likely result in some kind of a train wreck. And so I'm just avoiding that. And so it's kind of cruising along nice and slow, no rush, and looking pretty good. Okay, so just to show how I'm using it for those of you who are using it, the stop is big, so I'm using a stop that is, let's have a look at the configuration. So the stop is 5 times the area of supply. So it got in here, it's sold here. Price went up to, as expected, this, which is kind of the parent structure or the older sibling, and this is where price reacted, and this is where it left. So now we're at about a third, or maybe close to 1/2 our risk. As you can see here, we're about maybe this far away, so we're about maybe 1/2 to our stop. So we have about so far a 1/2 to 1 reward risk, and the target is just around here, which is like a pretty good place to expect price to bounce. But you notice that it's nested within this daily area, so we might have a big of a push away from this area, which I'd like to see. So we'll have to wait and see. So it's risking 5 times the area of a 4-hour supply and demand, and it's looking to pull in 2 times that. So we're risking 2.5 times more than we are expecting to win. And while that sounds a little bit perverse and wrong, for automated trading, it's okay because the hit rate is incredibly high. So we're winning over 85% of the trades, sometimes well over 90% of the trades. And so we can allow this to happen and still be pretty comfortable with what's going on. Okay, and so over the long term, this is going to work out just fine. So, but it's kind of moving like that. It's crawling along very nicely. I know some of the users have some pretty interesting configurations, Dave being one of them. He has a nice little selection of pairs he trades. He has a very specific configuration that he's using, again, on the 4-hour periods and up. And I think he's doing pretty well. Falker is also doing something interesting. He's using it for trade confirmation, and he's also using the roller with great success. Some of the older users who are using on the 5-minute, the 1-minute time frame, were experiencing maybe frightening results, both positive and negative, which is essentially why I pulled it off. Okay, so this is what it's doing. It's doing pretty well. We're not trading everything. We're just trading a selection of pairs, maybe 10 different pairs, and it's doing great. So that's that. So that was a small update on the Algo Trader. Let's have a look at some of the other stuff. Some of you, or rather those of you who are in the chat room, the Discord server, are likely seeing these levels that we're putting off. If you scroll up, you'll see something that looks like something like this. And if you look further up, you'll see some other ones, and here's some more. And these are just some of the trays that I'm looking at. We had a few of these fill yesterday. We had this one fill, we had this one fill, and we had another sell on the US dollar on the S&P 500 fill. So we had 3 of these fill, and all of these ended up in profit. This one and this one I closed off early because I was about to go to bed, and they were kind of sitting at just about break even. So I just closed those out just to avoid kind of liquid markets during the night. And this one was kind of the big winner for the day. So we pulled in about 50 pips on this one here, and this one and this one we did about plus 3 pips per trade. So that turned out very nicely. This one is still pending. This one is still pending, and so there are a few things that are still waiting to go on. And you can see, I hope you guys are in here and looking around, because a lot of these guys are just talking about different positions and sharing ideas and expectations and trades. So I encourage you to participate in the discussion. If there's something you're looking at and you want to get some feedback, plop it in here. Give us a screenshot, put it in here, a few comments, and then we can throw it out there and have a look. And that way you have a few more eyes on your position, and you're getting a bit of feedback and essentially building confidence, because everyone else is saying, like, that looks like a good trade, that's certainly something I'd be interested in taking. Well, then you know you're on track. And this shouldn't be used to stop you from taking a trade if others don't agree with you, because your methodology may tell you to be trading, but it does certainly give you maybe a little bit of confidence if everyone else is also thinking that the trade will likely work out. It doesn't mean that it will. It just means that there's alignment. Okay, so let's just have a quick look about how I'm qualifying these areas. I've done this many times in the past, and I just want to kind of illustrate how I like to do this. And what I like to do is I have a template on my platform which is called 3TF, which stands for 3 time frames, and I have a chart configuration that looks like this. So I have my long term, my medium term, and my short term. And so here I am looking at the major flows. You can see here that price on the weekly chart just reacted at, or is getting close to reacting at, a nested weekly and daily demand. Okay, You can see the same thing here. You can see that this is a weekly area, and within it we have a daily area of demand. See, this is actually a beautiful area. What does that mean? Well, that means once price comes down into this area, we could certainly look to buy, position ourselves long for the pound Kiwi. And so I'm looking at this, I'm saying, where is price in relation to the major flows? In other words, what is currently driving price? We have the top of weekly demand. Is that important? Absolutely, that's really important. And so we know that we have bullish bias. So I'll have a look on the smaller time frame, on the daily, and then I'll look at the smaller time frame here, and this is where I'm going to position myself. This is going to be my entry time frame. And so you can see that price reacted on something down here. If I just mark this off and I go back, can you see what it is? Well, we have this small accumulation candle here. Price poked into it, and this is where price left from. Is this the turning point? Maybe, maybe not. I like this. I prefer this better, so I'll probably be more comfortable waiting for price to have another deep push. And so we have divergence occurring probably. We have a low. We have a lower low. We probably have kind of an average of the closes or currency strength divergence move in the opposite direction, where at weekly with nested daily demand. And so this would be a pretty interesting place to look to buy. Is price ready to buy it? Yes, well, you could have bought at the edge of this area here. I would have missed this because the software is telling me to look lower, and this is essentially where I want to look. And so down here is looking a little bit more interesting. This is where we have more of the volume of the transactions, but you can see that price moved away from here and moved down. We had a low, a lower low, and then price poked higher. So going to the small time frames, you can see that we have a pretty interesting cutaway place where price came down, we moved sideways, and then we left. And this is the one that's interesting. I don't like the fact that this is here because this is kind of consuming more. And so I would probably wait for price to come up, have a deeper push lower, and then buy lower. And the area I think looks really interesting is this one here, right there. So I'd put something like that. This is at the nested area. So I think, yeah, that looks like a pretty interesting area. So I'd look to engage in the market around these levels here. This is that pattern. Price moves down, we accumulate for one period, and then we depart. So this is telling us that we have some buying pressure there. We also have selling going on here, as you can see, or profit taking on the shorter term. The price seems to be grinding higher, but I'd really like to see push lower into here somewhere, and then price move away. Okay, so let's remove that. Go like that. Okay, so let's have a look at the pound franc that we saw. And pound franc, where are you? Yeah. So this is the one that we saw. It would be interesting. And why is it interesting? We'll have a look. It's reacting at daily demand. See, we have daily demand. It's been tested once. Huge rejection. Does that mean this level will hold again? Very likely so. So this is where we got involved with this. So we bought let's see what the level says. Let's go up here. 128.16. So if we go back to the platform, 128.16. So we bought. Oops, sorry. Just kind of grabbing all these levels. I bought right here. Okay, so this is the area. And if you look here, well, why is that a good area? This is important. So we'll mark off 128.16, which is a low. Okay, around there. If you look at it, this is interesting because we had push, price left. This candle closed above these, leaving the area. This is the accumulation. This is the one that left. The lower this candle is 128.22. And so I went to a small time frame, found the beginning of the buy zone, and positioned myself to buy there. Price poked in, and it flew in the opposite direction, hitting the target Actually, no, I didn't hit the target. I closed this off before bed. And I did this at about 50 pips profit. So there, let's see where. So about right here. Right there, around the 128.76. Let's confirm that. So a little bit below, around here. You see as we had price move up, sideways, down, child, and then left. So about the high of this area of supply. And this isn't a beautiful area because there's a lot of trading in the area, so we can expect price to go deeper, but you don't know that that's what it's going to do. So don't get greedy, just put it in. Maybe take the trade off before you go to bed, unless you can remove the risk, which I could have done. I would have got twice as much, but you never know what's going to happen. So you look at the trade, you make some decisions before bed. Are you okay going to bed with the trade open? When liquidity thins up, you get a little bit volatile. Me, yeah, on the bigger time frames, but this one is kind of a smaller time frame thing. We're on the 4-hour chart here, and so I just felt pretty comfortable just closing it off. I can put money in the bank, close my eyes, and go to dreamland. So this is a pretty interesting one right there. We have a look at some of the other ones that we're talking about. Dollar CAD, 134.09. Dollar CAD, 134.09. See, this one is a little bit naughty. $134.09. There it is, right there. So we're about right there. Let's have a look at this. This is kind of a funny one. Let's stop lower because we didn't get stopped out. We almost did. Okay, 134.09. Right there-ish. And then stop 133.95. About right there. So price, you can see we had price had a really nice bounce. Here we poked into it, we went up. Price bounced 7 pips, so nothing major. And then it went down. It came close to the stop. This is just before bed for me. And then it kind of, this is where it left. And so if you look at this, you can see that if we draw a smaller area in here, oops, something like that. In price cut through that and it found some liquidity below price. So let's go and have a look and see what that looks like, because this is important. You have the kind of the aftermath. So we're going to scroll back and we're going to look at that dotted line. Look at that. Look at this. So price came down, we moved sideways, we went low, we had another push lower to find buys and exploded. And this is where price, we moved these, this one and this one. This is where price came to. Once, twice. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous trade. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff you want to look for. And the really cool thing about taking a trade and doing a kind of the aftermath analysis is that you're able to see what price actually reacted at. We were hoping to get a reaction on the child. We did, but not a great one. We got close to getting stopped out, but price went down to the parent. What does that tell us? That tells us, again, to not trade children, but to trade parents. Not to be misunderstood, especially in this part of the world. And so price came down here, we found buyers, and then price shot up very nicely. So if we have a look at that, so the stop would have been 15. We went up, we had a 2-to-1 on that, over a 2-to-1 on that alone. That was a really interesting one there. And now prices seem to have satisfied the sellers, and so now we're actually moving higher, not convincingly. So we'll probably, actually I don't know what's going to happen, but now we're drifting sideways. So the trade is over. It's been tested. So wait, see what happens. So that's what we have there. Okay, let's see what else we have. Well, we've got Euro USD 112.92. Um, why are we selling? Well, we're selling because price is just drifting lower. It's kind of a high risk trade because we're reacting at demand here. You see rally, parent, child accumulation, price flies up. Now we're pretty much through this area of parent demand. We're pretty close to the lows, so we can expect price to move high. But notice how price is just kind of like continues to wriggle lower. And so I'm expecting price to continue moving lower for the short term. So we have a look here. And let's have a look at that price again. 1292. And this was a sell. Can't really see it. Go over here. 1292. What 1292 is 12. So this is what we're looking at. This one right here. Yeah, this one right here. And so the reason I like this is because we had this area here. Price came up, dropped off, another push, and then it left. And so we're having every price levels above this, above these highs, is attracting selling. So I'm expecting price to move even further lower once it comes back down here. So that's the thinking of it, though. But we'll have to see what price looks like when it comes back up to this level. If we start to see stuff that looks like this, price goes like this, rally goes just below the area and goes like that. So let's say we get filled, so price goes up, fills us and goes like that. Then I'm going to get out of the trade. Why? Because when price sticks to the area and we still manage to move sideways, well, this means that there's an interest in pushing price higher, because then it'll probably cut through that, move back down to this area and continue moving north from there. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. We get filled at this level here. That'll be great, but you're going to have to pay attention to what's going on the opposing side of the market. Okay, so that's what we have on that one. Let's see what else we have. We have the dollar. This is the S&P. So S&P. S&P. And so we have, what price level is it? Looking to buy at 22.20. Which is really far away. This is not the right. No, anyway, that's really, the S&P is just really far away. So there's a long time until that gets filled. You can see how we started to approach these highs and then price kind of gapped away. And so we were expecting price to wriggle down a little bit. Also, there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment with these trade wars. So some stocks, American stocks, are paying a price. The United States government, they've introduced a blacklist. So, for example, my lovely Hawaii telephone, I believe that Google was told that they could only, to a limited extent, supply Android software for Hawaii's, however you pronounce that telephone, but those Chinese ones. And Qualcomm was told to blacklist Hawaii as a corporation they would work with. And so there's a lot going on at the moment in these damn trade wars. It's causing stock prices to go all over the place. So you have to be very, very mindful of this. And the indexes are going to be showing this as well. You can see here we have, this is when one of the speeches was done. If we look at the Hong Kong, where is it? This one here. This has also been gap down, like the Hong Kong, like the Chinese index, gapped lower because of this stuff that Trump's been doing. And so all this stuff, of course, plays a big role as to what's going on in these markets. So just be quite mindful of that trading. But we had like this nice area, price rally, accumulated rally, price came back. We were pretty far through it, and the price came close to it, but reacted to the child instead and then left. And so what's going to happen? We don't know, but fundamentally, the stock market's probably going to fail. Tech companies are going to fail because both in Asia, but also in the US, because if they're not able to do business with with big consuming nations like China, well, that's obviously going to have an effect on their bottom line. But we'll have to wait and see. Cool. Well, I'll leave it at that. I'll continue to post orders in the chat room. If you have any questions, let me know, and please feel free to post your trade ideas in the forum so we can get a discussion going about what's going on. Good. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the room.